Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Supergirl Season 6 review series. And today I am going to be talking about episode 12, Blind Spots, which I have just finished watching. And this episode was kind of a hit and miss for me, in my opinion. I wouldn't say I liked this episode, but I didn't enjoy this episode either. I was kind of in the middle with this one. But having said all that, there were some stuff in this episode that I actually enjoyed. But there were moments in this episode that kind of felt a little bit forced and at times came across as kind of a bit preachy, so to speak. We were treated to a cameo slash guest appearance once again by John Diggle, played superbly as always by David Ramsey, who as of late has been making the rounds on the Arrowverse shows. He's appeared in Superman and Lois, he's appeared in The Flash, and he's appeared in Legends of Tomorrow, and he's just appeared in Supergirl. And we kind of got a little bit of an answer to the question that's been on everybody's minds, including mine. Why hasn't John Diggle become the Green Lantern? Now, over the course of his appearances in the Arrowverse on the shows, we've kind of had little clues as to why John Diggle hasn't become Green Lantern, but he hasn't actually openly come out and said it. But in this episode, we kind of got that answer. It may not be the right answer that we've been looking for, but an answer is an answer nonetheless. John Diggle pretty much said that he had the opportunity to become a special kind of hero, but that would mean giving up his entire life here on Earth and leaving his wife and family behind, which is fair enough. Not really sure if that's kind of the answer we were looking for, but we got it anyway. Does this mean that the whole will he, won't he become Green Lantern scenario end there? Probably not. At some point, we probably will see John Diggle put on the famous Emerald Ring and eventually become the Green Lantern. Maybe we might see that in the Armageddon 5 part crossover special, which is coming up at the end of the year. Who knows, but time will tell, really. But we kind of got the answer. Not necessarily what we were looking for, but we got it anyway. John Diggle's role in this episode was small, but important. I don't think it added a lot to the story, in my opinion. I felt some of his other appearances on the other shows in the Arrowverse kind of had a bit more weight to them. This one, I wouldn't necessarily say his appearance was, hi, just thought I'd stop in, see how you guys are doing. I wouldn't really say that, but I would probably say his role, from what we've seen so far, he's kind of just been on a mission, just helping some of the other young people become heroes, like Luke Fox. He helped give him some advice about being a hero, and in this episode, he kind of just gave some advice to Kelly Olsen, who we eventually saw become the new Guardian, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. So he's kind of been like this little mentor, just going around giving guys advice and encouraging him to become the hero that they're meant to be, which I think is pretty cool. But we want to see John Diggle become the hero in his own right. But we'll see, really. This episode pretty much picks up where we left off at the end of episode 11, which I thought was very good. And we saw Mixius Pitalik kind of sacrifice himself as he gave himself up to his sister Nixley as he was sucked into the orb, and that's pretty much how we left episode 11. So, with that all said, we're going to get straight into it. We are going to be talking about episode 12, which is Blind Spots. So on Mitchell's ship, we see Nixie looking at the orb, and she doesn't yet have the location of the totem and isn't sure what went wrong. So we fast forward backwards to 24 hours earlier, where we see Kelly is on the phone with Joey, who is excited about his new room when the Ormfell collapses. Kelly rushes to the scene and finds Joey, and his friend Orlando shows up. They get the kids to the hospital as Joey is having issues breathing, but the hospital doesn't have enough resources. And then we see Councilman Rankin is wheeled in, more focused on trying to get the corporate dollars than helping people. She leaves when Kelly asks for help. Kelly calls Alex for help from the Super Friends, but they cannot come. And at a much wealthier hospital, Rankin demands that she be given an experimental drug. All of those exposed to the building collapse subtly have some sort of blue glow happening, though it is unseen. Distraught because no one is helping, Kelly calls her brother Jimmy to vent and admits she's so exhausted she can't get anyone to see the real problem. While she's on the phone, Rankin gets the drug, injects it into herself, and starts to glow blue, and every one of her other victims start to collapse. Interesting. In Newfoundland, we see Lena is starting to learn about her powers when she gets alerts about what's happening in National City. She rushes off to help, leaving behind the lessons and a book important to knowing more about her heritage. Now, as we saw in episode 11, Lena went back to her homeland and she discovered she had powers of a witch. So we're now seeing Lena starting to delve into her heritage more and more as we start to see her powers develop. Now, remember, I said in the last review that the idea of Lena Luthor having powers is interesting, and could it tip her over the edge? We'll just have to wait and see on that story. Meanwhile, in National City, the Super Friends can't find Nixley, but Brainy has an idea of how they might be able to find Mixius Pitalik. Kelly reaches out to Andrea for media attention to the issues regarding the Ormfell and the victims, but Andrea also brushes her off. Catco is covering the traffic issues because the demographic doesn't care about the issues in the Heights. We get a knock on the door, and it's none other than John Diggle himself from Star City, who is now residing in Metropolis these days, and he explains that Jimmy Olsen is the one who sent him. Kelly admits that she feels alone in this because the superheroes have supervillains to fight, and Diggle understands and asks Kelly what she knows, which is something other than the dust is making people sick. We then see Diggle goes with her to investigate, and they notice a blue glow coming from a structure inside the building that has survived. Rankin shows up, giddy that the affordable housing is now gone. She also manifests a sandwich and realizes she has powers, and that she can transform a neighborhood any way she wants it to. At the tower, Alex gets scanners that can track fifth dimensional energy, and they find a lot of it at the remains of the Ormfell. They show up and find Kelly and Diggle investigating. Turns out the building also charged with the energy is what is making people sick. The Super Friends plan to track and remove the energy so they can use it to find Nixley. In her office, Rankin uses her newfound powers to bribe another politician to her side, though each time she uses those powers, others are impacted by the collapse shortly after. We then see Kelly try to tell Supergirl about how the larger systematic issues of the undeserved community that is the Heights, but Supergirl is focused on Nixley and putting things back the way they were. She's not listening, not even Alex, who is also focused on the Nixley situation, although Dreamer gives her a scanner that she can use if there's anything they missed. At the hospital, the scanner picks up the energy on Rankin, but Kelly and Diggle are surprised she's doing so well. Rankin gives a press conference saying that people shouldn't let their weaknesses hold them back, but Orlando confronts her and tells her that she and the system are the problem. One of her bodyguards goes to harm Orlando, and then we see Kelly show up as Guardian, protecting Orlando. Guardian goes after Rankin, and the two of them fight, with Rankin using her powers. She ultimately escapes, but not before Kelly gets a chunk of her hair. At the tower, Kelly confronts the Super Friends, demanding to know where they were. She tells them that Rankin was the issue, but they didn't care. They also don't see her or the real issues. They are too fixated on Nixley to care. She reminds them that they are supposed to fight for everyone, but instead she sees people like her struggle and die while the Super Friends constantly turn a blind eye. Diggle goes to talk to Kelly and he tells her he had the opportunity to become a special kind of hero, but he would have had to leave his family behind. There you have it. May not be the answer we want, but I've got a feeling this isn't going to be the last time we've heard about this. He had to ask himself what kind of hero did he really want to be, and he poses the same question to her. Supergirl goes to talk to Kelly, saying she's sorry. Kelly admits that she's pushed down so much of her own trauma to keep going. She says Supergirl may not get it, but she needs to know that this exists and that the disenfranchised need hope and do not have the luxury of focusing on tomorrow. The disenfranchised are struggling to survive the day, and Supergirl isn't a bad person for not seeing it, but she needs to acknowledge her blind spots and support her in restoring justice. Elsewhere, Alex talks with Jean, who talks about how he had to present himself, and in many ways is made him feel more like an alien on this world than being an alien. But he also understands that Kelly and Diggle do not have the same choice. It turns out that Rankin has become an energy siphon, and each time she uses her powers, she's essentially stealing their life force like a parasite. They can stop her, but it will render the fifth dimensional energy useless for tracking Nixley. Supergirl doesn't care, they're going to save the people of the Heights. Kelly then asks Brainy to help with her helmet, and it turns out Brainy's been working on her suit for a long time. Kelly asks Brainy if in the 31st century things are any better. He tells her that even in the future, it's better in a lot of ways, but they haven't fully evolved. There are generational scars and work to be done, but the present has Kelly and still has time to make a difference. Kelly, now suited up in the new Guardian suit, faces Rankin with the Super Friends behind her. Rankin says she's going to destroy the whole city and rebuild it from the ground up. The Super Friends start to protect the neighborhood as Rankin attacks. Guardian goes to get Orlando to help, but he's unwilling to trust at first, but she convinces him. Orlando gets the Orfel victims to the streets while Guardian takes the roof and activates the device that takes Rankin's powers. The energies are redirected to where they belong and the people are saved. Energy also goes into Nixley's orb. Rankin gets arrested. Guardian tells Orlando he should run for her spot on City Council. The kids of the neighborhood are inspired by the new Guardian. We then see Kelly become an official part of the Super Friends as a hero of the people, as we see John Diggle heads back to Metropolis saying, "Worlds await." Interesting. On Mitch's ship, Nixley begins to plan to get the Courage Totem. Lena returns home to find the book she left behind in Newfoundland has been mailed to her. At home, we see Kelly wrap her hair up protectively in a scarf before sitting down. Kelly comes home and tells her that she understands that she doesn't understand, and she never fully will, but she wants to be an ally. Kelly tells Alex to just let her be without having to unpack everything, hold a space for her, and love her. And that's how we end episode 12. Overall, as I said, this episode was kind of a bit of a hit and miss for me. There were some things that I did enjoy about this episode. I enjoyed seeing John Diggle. As I said, it's always great to see David Ramsey. Pleasure having him here. Interesting about how he addressed the Green Lantern question. I've got a feeling, as I said earlier, this is not going to be the last time we are going to see this issue get addressed, and hopefully we do get to see John Diggle eventually become the Green Lantern. Kelly Olsen becoming the Guardian, I felt they could have saved that moment maybe for second to last episode before the series finale, but the costume looks okay, but me personally, I prefer Jimmy's costume 10 times more. It just looks more badass, but it looked okay. It wasn't terrible. But by and large, this won't go down as the best episode for me, but it won't go down as the worst episode either. I would say this episode was pretty average, but like I said earlier, there were some things that I did enjoy about this episode, so I won't completely dismiss this one. So that's going to be it for me. I am going to wrap this up now. What did you think of this episode? Did you enjoy it? What was your thoughts on John Diggle's role in this episode? What was your thoughts on him turning down the offer to becoming a special kind of hero? Do you think we might get to learn a bit more about why he turned this down? Or do you think this might be the only thing we'll ever get? And also, what was your thoughts on Kelly Olsen finally becoming the new Guardian? Are you excited? Do you think maybe they could have built this up to an even bigger moment, maybe for the series finale or the second to last episode? And also, now that she's a proper member of the Super Friends, where do you think she will go next? And also, what did you think about Supergirl trying to go after Mixley? Do you think there might be some sort of payoff to this? And do you think there might be a way for Supergirl to get Mixie's Pitalik back? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Supergirl Season 6 review series, where I am going to be talking about episode 13, which I'm hoping is going to be a very good one. Should be interesting to see where we go from here. So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, thanks for listening.